education. The future is now. Welcome to Robots in Education with your host, Eric Dwayne. Let's get straight to it. How do we think about robots? When we think of robots, what do we think of? Science fiction movies, right? Forbidden Planet, Lost in Space, Doctor Who, Buck Rogers, Star Wars, Robots the Animated Movie, WALL-E, and many others. What about robots in industry? Robots build cars, don't they? Well, yes, they do. But the idea of robots for many was introduced to us through movies. At least that's my experience. But I'm a child of the 80s. Today, kids in school have much more interaction with robots than previous generations did. This is mostly because of STEM programs in education, but these programs play a valuable role in ensuring that students of today are ready for the jobs of tomorrow. And by the looks of things, those jobs will involve various fields that support the design, development, and maintenance of robots. So what does this mean for robotic advancements in education? Let's start our journey a few decades ago.
It is time we talk.
Proceed.
You are very ignorant.
You are mistaken.
Robots have been around a lot longer than Hollywood. But Hollywood did serve to spark our imaginations. Robots like Robbie the Robot from The Forbidden Planet, a classic movie of the 1950s. We also had robots introduced to us by Irwin Allen in the famed classic Lost in Space. Additionally, newer robots have been introduced in the 70s, like R2-D2 from Star Wars by George Lucas, C-3PO, his trusty sidekick, and one of my all-time favorites, the cute little droid BB-8. Robots have often been depicted as helpers and defenders, ones that could help us with our daily tasks and defend us from things that might be sinister. Take Rosie the Robot from the Jetsons, for example. She cooks. She cleans. And she's also available for childcare with little Elroy. If only there were a modern-day Rosie the Robot. Why, look, it's Rosie the Roomba. Now this Rosie doesn't exactly cook or take care of children, but it's a start in the right direction. This Rosie isn't as effective or as efficient as Rosie in the Jetsons, but this Rosie does a pretty good job at picking up the day-to-day clutter in somebody's house. Let's continue this imaginative journey with robots and automation. Now you've seen science fiction, and you've seen a little bit of science fact with Rosie the Roomba, but take a look at Amazon and their operation. Robots move with precision, time and time again. Perfect precision, unrepeatable by human hands. Robots are capable of intense, prolonged labor. This type of labor typically causes injury in humans, but with robots, that's not an issue. They're also immune to hazards. If a robot gets damaged, you simply send it in for repair. With humans, that can take weeks and sometimes months, depending on the severity of the injury. These robots are also capable of multiple, simple interactions, repetitive, that don't cause long-term injury, like carpal tunnel syndrome, for example. Here, a human is performing the critical thinking tasks while the robot moves packages around in Amazon's distribution plant. This massive robot arm is capable of lifting weights repetitively and great amounts. Additionally, this robot's not going to have any sick days. This allows for 24/7 operations. A machine, if you will. So with robots and automation setting the stage, what does this mean for robots in education and their implementation? Well, let's take a look. I would like you to meet Chris. Chris is a young boy who suffers from severe disabilities that prevent him from going to a brick-and-mortar school. This is the N-Go. It's a robotic device that allows Chris to attend school in a virtual mode. With this device in school, Chris can experience the sights, the sounds, and the socialization, as well as the education that most children take for granted. Could teachers be next? While Cybermen aren't real, sorry to those Doctor Who fans watching, Pal and his friend Pepper are actual real operational robots that are currently in use. Both these robots are capable of reading human emotion, but they can't quite replicate it because they don't have facial structures to support these types of emotional readbacks. But scientists are working on this development, and someday, this might be something that we see more frequently. Robots can take on the dangerous job of conducting classroom experiments with little to no danger to the students. Not only could robots help to teach music, but robots can take on the role of virtual musician by filling in for students that are absent or for a band that is short-handed. While not all teachers might be robot in nature, they might be cybernetic and bear cybernetic enhancements. Think about the various conflicts and wars that our country has fought in and that have taken place around the globe. With cybernetic enhancements, someone who might not have a job as a teacher in physical fitness can now be able to do that job because of cybernetic enhancements. Think about what's possible in the future. But are robot teachers science fiction? Or could they be real? Well, I'm here to tell you. Some schools have already attempted putting robot teachers in the classroom. These are some examples. Robots lack a full range of emotions, but that won't stop school administrators from putting them into schools. If you think I'm kidding, take a look at this.
In Japan, students at an elementary school were curious to meet a very different kind of substitute teacher. A robot was tested and used to help the students learn about technology.
Students at Kudan Elementary School in downtown Tokyo were told a special teacher would help with their science class. But few expected the teacher would need 3 grown men to help her up to the podium or need special programming to talk. Saya, the substitute teacher, is a robot. Built by Professor Hiroshi Kobayashi of Tokyo University of Science, he says she's not meant to take away the jobs of teachers.
We are not looking at making something that will take over teachers, but rather our main reason for building this robot is to use new technology to teach children about technology.
But Saya may be able to help in schools where there is a shortage of teachers.
In the countryside and in some small schools, there are children who do not have the opportunity to come into contact with new technology. And also there are few teachers out there that can teach these lessons. So we also hope to be able to develop this robot so it can be remotely controlled to teach these classes.
Saya was a hit with the children.
It's so much more fun than regular classes.
Most students were mesmerized by the robot.
It was great seeing the robot moving and speaking.
But the class teacher was not convinced Saya was ready to go full-time.
I think on the one hand, I'm impressed that they have got robots to go this far, but on the other hand, they still have a long way to research before they create a truly robotic teacher.
The curiosity of the children did not stop after the class.
I hope you enjoyed this imaginative journey of what could possibly be robots in education. Thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Eric Dwayne, signing off.